President Biden reversing yet another Trump policy and suspending Alaska oil and gas leases in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. Will this put the nail in the coffin of American energy independence? And will it ensure a continued rise in gas prices for American consumers? Joining me now to discuss it, Oklahoma Congressman Mark-Wayne Mullin. He's on the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Mark-Wayne, it's great to be with you. You look at what the administration is doing with respect to its green energy policies and the agenda, and it's essentially asserting those over the American consumer. I mean, look what's happening at the pump right now. This has been tough on people.
Well, I mean, what you saw is just more of this policy, this failed policy that Biden has put out. What we see today is we're importing 2 million barrels more today than we were the day that Joe Biden took office because of his disastrous policies. We see this time last year, Memorial Weekend, we saw gas prices averaging around $1.90. Right now, we're seeing gas prices average well over $3 a gallon now, and at the cost of thousands and thousands of American jobs. It is disastrous, this policy that he continues to go down. And what does he expect the American people to do? What he's trying to do is tax the fossil fuel out of existence, and it doesn't work that way.
Let me ask you this, because I've covered energy for a long time, and I even dig in every week. I look at how much we're producing as a nation here. We were the largest producer in the world, and every week I slowly see that going down as you're talking about importing more from the Middle East. I mean, this is the perfect scenario for OPEC and some of our foes overseas. Absolutely. This is what President Trump tried to undo, and he successfully undid. Why would this president want to reverse it all?
You know, Vice President Harris is from California that has this same exact policy that they're forcing on the American people. And California is the #1 import of all 50 states, the #1 import of foreign oil. And for some reason, he's following Kamala Harris. He's following Vice President Harris's path and trying to regulate us like California. And why? Because he's bending towards the environmentalist. Everybody that's ever studied renewable energy knows that it's not sustainable. We can't run America's energy on renewables only, and energy is the backbone of our economy. When you start thinking about energy as itself, it's the backbone of every country's economy. And so when we were moving towards energy independence, and we were well within our way, and we were the #1 export of LNG. In fact, we were starting to put pressure on Russia and Europe because of the terminals and the LNG exports that we were having going there, when people would rather do business with us, because a country that is friendly to other countries brings global stabilization, unlike Russia, who will turn off the gas literally like they did with Ukraine. And it's mind-blowing to me why President Biden is literally bending towards the environmentalists and costing the economy of the American people.
So let's just remind the viewers, summing up what you said, we've got a huge national security interest in this. We also have an economic agenda here at home to keep people employed. The energy industry does that with high-paying jobs, might I add. Then you look at prices at the pump, and you see them just going up, 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 the average over $3 a gallon. It is a tax on consumers. I can't say that enough. And then, Mark-Wayne, you've got the administration and the Fed saying, oh, no. There's no inflation. There's no inflation here.
It's hyperinflation at this point. From building the cost to, let's just talk about a piece of plywood. It was last year that it was $8 a sheet. Now it's nearly $40 a sheet. You see grocery prices going through the roof. You see lumber going through the roof. You see gas prices literally up 150% in most areas. That's hyperinflation. That's not just inflation. It's hyperinflation, and it's going to come to roost at some point. And yet this administration is turning a blind eye to it. And as I said a while ago, energy is the lifeblood to our economy. It's the backbone of our economy and all economies. And we are just literally succeeding this. One advantage we have over China is that we have natural resources. China doesn't have that ability. That's why they have to stay cozy to Iran and Russia. We don't have to do that. We can be totally 100% energy independent. But what you're seeing with what Biden did in Alaska by canceling the permits up there, you see what he's canceling permits on public lands all across the United States, which is going to cost an average of 1 million jobs. The Keystone Pipeline, 11,000 jobs. I can't understand what they're actually looking at. Who is advising this administration, because they're destroying our economy?
Mark Wayne, we not only had the resources, we tapped into the technology to be able to further extract those resources. It was revolutionary, and it's all being undone. And to your point about hyperinflation, they're saying, well, it's transitory. Just don't worry about it for now. So, I mean, that's what they're telling the consumer.
But when it comes time to catch up with hyperinflation, the economy is going to crash. And then we're not going to have the energy resources that we've had to depend on to be able to boost up or stabilize our economy, because he's literally regulated it out. And I know what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is run the cost of fossil fuels up so high that renewable energy...
Right, you can't use them anymore.
Yes,
you make it so high that actually you make renewables look competitive, even though they're very expensive. And it's going to be a while before we can phase them in. Mark Wayne, we are out of time, but it's so great to see you tonight, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay.
Appreciate it.